Remember the space race of the 1960s? Well, fast forward to 2024, and we have different countries going back to the moon. So why are they spending all this money to do so? What's the point of it, and why should you care? Now that I've got your attention, we're going to discuss that and more on this episode of UBS Trending. Hi, everyone, and welcome to UBS Trending. I'm Anthony Pastore. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm joined once again in the studio by my friend and colleague, Michelle LaLiberty from the Chief Investment Office. Michelle, this space theme really has legs. It's something that we've talked about for a number of years, but it's starting to get even more in the realm of reality. And maybe we start with this idea of what it means and why people are paying attention, or maybe even more that, why should they really care? Why are we paying attention to this story right now?
Sure, I think it's interesting because, I mean, tourism, fun and games aside, there are plenty of reasons to care about the space economy. Number one, the space economy is absolutely fundamental to security. A significant failure of satellite communication could be very disruptive. And we all interact with the traditional space economy every day, even GPS, right? And I should caveat when I'm saying space economy, I do include low Earth orbit. So I'm using the economic definition just to, again, put a caveat out there. So that includes some of the old age traditional space economy, but it is absolutely fundamental to security. So plenty of reasons to go to space, whether it be satellite internet, some of these more futuristic use cases. But the one I think we're here to talk about today is security.
Right, because when we think about space now, we have to think about security. I mean, look, we've seen all the disaster movies about what happens when the satellites go down. But like you said, there is a reality that could potentially happen. So talk about how space security, even artificial intelligence, are intertwined, and kind of how this really works with the idea and why countries are going back to the moon.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just the moon, it's really space broadly, and there's a number of different projects. But space and security have become so intertwined, the US is even considering labeling the space economy a critical infrastructure sector.
Wow.
The definition of that means that if something were to happen to a critical infrastructure sector, it would be detrimental to national security and society at large. So that means it's very much important. And while there are treaties that exist to prevent the misuse of space-based assets, the reality is that much of modern defense relies on space-based assets and satellites. So our early missile detection system relies on satellites. So that just kind of shows you that relationship, right, between space and security is really undeniable. And it's interesting that you mention AI, because satellites collect a vast amount of data. AI could potentially make that data more usable, more valuable, because it can synthesize it quickly. So I think that just really underscores how valuable that satellite data is. And I think it's part of the reason, again, that we're seeing governments support their space economy sectors. We're seeing the EU invest in a strategic fund specifically for space-based security. NASA's budget is as high as it was in the early 60s, so we haven't seen that in decades. And we're seeing plenty of other countries get involved here too. And I think we're reminded almost every day, or it seems like almost every day, of the relationships with space and security, because we're seeing headlines like potential for nuclear warfare to be used in space, or for spy satellites to be used. So those are really underlining, again, how important this is for global security.
Yeah, it's like the dichotomy of the two stories, right? You've got the scary side of what potentially could happen if there was nuclear warfare, for example. But on the other side, those same satellites that are up there are detecting these missiles that potentially could be heading towards the US or other countries. And so they kind of battle each other in orbit around our planet. And what's fascinating about what you said about AI is we have seen AI in reality take tasks that might have taken days or weeks to get done and boil it down to a matter of seconds. So imagine what it can do in this security realm when it comes to the space economy. So I want to, okay, it's not all doom and gloom, right? I don't want to scare everybody out there saying, oh, it's only used for really scary tactics. There's some good things that are part of the space economy and satellites and detections. So tell us more about those.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. We are seeing a proliferation, really, of use cases for satellite data when it comes to Earth observation, and AI is playing a significant role there as well. So just to give you some examples, satellite data, and AI specifically, have been used for wildfire fighting and prevention. So the California Forestry Department, since 2023, have deployed AI at about 21 of their stations. And what it does is it takes data from about 1,000 cameras, and it can detect anomalies to identify potential ignitions and really speed up response. It can also be used once a fire has ignited to take historical data, take real-time data. Satellites can be one of the inputs there, and it can more quickly predict and more accurately predict that fire's potential path. So that can be hugely valuable information when you're trying to plan something like an evacuation strategy, right? So that can be really, really helpful.
Right.
And I think it's a matter of not necessarily saying that AI is going to replace firefighters or anything like that. It's more of a matter of we need the help that we can get, and how can this help our boots on the ground operations.
Yeah. It's like autonomous detection in a way. You can't have men and women patrolling the forests at all hours of the day at every quadrant of the particular area where a potential wildfire can happen. But to put those cameras there that are connected to an artificial intelligence generator that can detect it quickly, like you said, get emergency response there before the fire gets out of control. And I'm sure we're going to see more and more of how AI is going to be used in other detections when it comes to hurricanes or tsunamis, earthquakes, all the natural disasters that have taken lives and destroyed towns and cities. And so it's amazing to see that component of the use of satellites and AI. It's great.
There was a flood prediction study where AI was able to predict a potential flood 5 days in advance in basins that did not have water meters. So I thought, or gauges, so that was really interesting too. I think you're right. I think we're going to see a lot of use cases.
Yeah, amazing. And we're just at the really early stages of all of this. So as we're kind of putting the period at the end of this sentence, Michelle, is there an investment opportunity here right now thematically? And as something to point out, this is what we would call a long-term theme here at UBS CIO. But where is the investment case here?
Yeah, so it really ranges depending on what part of the space economy that you're looking at, right? You have your kind of traditional defense companies that play a role here. Those are going to be much larger, public, somewhat stable earnings profile, right? Versus your much more innovative, younger, riskier operations, which are often still private. So really wide range here, and I would just end with saying the risks are plentiful. So please consider those as well if you're thinking about the space economy.
Right, and consider having a conversation with your advisor, your financial advisor, if you're interested in this story. Michelle, thank you. Great stuff. I know that this is a conversation that will be going on for a long time, so it's exciting to see where we're going with the space theme, with AI, and how they work together. Thanks. Good to see you.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you. And for more information from Michelle and the rest of the Chief Investment Office, visit our website at ubs.com/views. Plus, you can follow UBS and UBS Studios on social media, particularly our Instagram channel at UBS Trending. Lots of great content for you there. And as I'll say it again, make sure you're communicating and speaking with your financial advisor if you have any questions about what Michelle and I spoke about today. Until next time, I'm Anthony Pastore. Have a great day, everybody, and remember to keep your eyes on what's trending. We'll see you soon.